Any citizens with business not scheduled on the agenda that would like to speak to the commission in an orderly fashion, each speaker may be recognized by the chairman. The commission may not discuss or take any action on an item, but can place the issue on a future agenda. We have 4 speakers this evening, I think, looks like, and we'll give each speaker 3 minutes. So first up is Tyler Cooper.
All right, good evening. My name is Tyler Cooper. I live at 118 Anna Springs Lane. I'm here today to voice my concerns and frustrations around the development and potential unapproved plan of the Cornerstone Church property and inquire on what actions I may need to take to rectify the situation. The long and short of the issue is that ever since the church purchased and cleared and paved the lot next to them, excessive rainfall overwhelms my French drain system and floods my pool with mud and debris every soaking rain event. We have lived here for 4 years and never come close to having the amount of flooding and rushing water we are dealing with currently. It has also led to what I believe is a contributing factor to the washing out of our driveway. All of this has occurred in the last 6 to 8 months, which to me is not a coincidence in timing as it relates to the development of the Cornerstone Church property. I've emailed Gary Palmer about the issue, who has in turn told me that it is a private property issue and there is not much the city can do if there are no clear-cut code violations. Officer Tilley visited our property, surveyed the issues, and take pictures, but as of now, there has been no action or indication any action will take place. This is where I respectfully disagree with Mr. Palmer. I have combed through the Planning and Zoning Commission agendas and minutes, as well as the City Council's agendas and minutes, and made the following discoveries. The April 4th Planning and Zoning Commission agenda shows where it was brought forth and sent to City Council the approval of the rezoning request to rezone the newly purchased plot of land from residential to institutional. In the comment section of the satellite imagery draft, it states future uses could include facility or parking expansion projects and ensure any future development provides buffer for adjacent residential uses per city code. In the Planning and Zoning recommendation report, in which the rezoning was approved, one of the points states that adequate development regulations are in place to ensure no negative effects on surrounding properties if the rezone is approved. The church property is currently being replatted to reflect a 25-foot vegetative setback, section 78-162, and the side and rear yard, section 98-239, adjacent to the single-family properties. Those provisions read, section 78-162, vegetative setback of 25 feet in width shall be maintained at all times where commercial, multifamily, industrial, church, public buildings, or school properties abut any single-family residential property, or adjacent acreage that may in the future become single-family residential. 78-162 provision C reads, vegetation setback must also provide a visual barrier, and provision A reads, barrier, the definition, a visual barrier shall be constructed and permanently maintained on any lot adjoining or abutting residential or PD district. In the minutes report of the April 4th regular meeting on page 3.5, it reads, Mrs. Julie Davis said the church had a variance to their parking surface and to be mindful of any parking lot expansions. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm making the assumption that since this is now being rezoned to institution, a paved parking surface and or larger parking lot must be provided to meet the minimum standards of off-street parking. If the assumption is correct, general policies reading improvements, payment and cost provisions, policies, terms and conditions to be followed in paving work, and the extending of water lines, sewer lines, and drainage must be approved by the city council and city engineer. All improvements shall be installed by the developer at their expense. I can go on a little further to talk about various things throughout the minutes, but the gist of it is, given these points, I have a few simple questions. One, am I interpreting these ordinances correctly? If so, please indicate, if not, please indicate specifically where I am misinterpreting. Did the church go to the city, county for replatting, file for all the appropriate paperwork and approvals, and ultimately follow the ordinance guidelines? In my opinion, no. As I can tell you by simply looking out my kitchen window, they did not, as there is no vegetation buffer. The lights from their buildings shine directly into the abutting residents' homes, and there is no buffer to the sound of loud music, and there is only about 14 feet of weeds, dead plant debris, and broken glass from their parking lot to my back fence. My understanding is there should be a 25-foot vegetative buffer that is 15 feet thick between any institutional and residential zone. Is that correct and currently being enforced? And if they filed the appropriate paperwork, is it incompetence from within the city that blindly approved the plans with no actual follow-ups or recommendations? The city did not follow through on their end of the ordinance guidelines, or simply not care as to cause strife with a church. If you would like to see invoices for damage repairs, pictures of the issues of the aftermath, and videos of the flooding in action, I will be happy to provide those via email, text, or I can show you now. Thank you.
Where's your home located? Oops, sorry, I can't talk.
118 Anna Springs Lane.
Was it
18 Annisfield Lane.
Dave, do you have a copy of all of Mr. Cooper's questions? Or can you?
I can give you a
Or
copy.
can you?
I made a copy. Yep.
Can you get that to Dave?
Yes.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
All right. Next is Sarah Countryman.
I'd like to speak on the item numbers that I have on there, and each item, please.
Okay, all righty. Next is Lisa Gregory and, is it Howard Andrews?
I only want to if I need to.
Okay.
She's reserved the right.
Oh, you're, okay, all righty. Steve Miller.
Yep, that's me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same, like what she was about to speak about. So I'm Steve Miller, I live at 281 Berkeley, so lot 1 there, as soon as you come around past the library. I didn't do a lot of, pull out a lot of material to read off or anything, but I actually met the landowner today. What we're talking about is a lot of us there on Berkeley, where 910 Klepper, the new construction backs out. We've been kind of seeing a lot of, I hate to use the word drainage issue, but it's the same thing, but a different type of drainage issue, it seems like, than what Buffalo Springs is seeing on the other side. I actually come in and sit down with Dave, had about an hour-long conversation with him about things. So the reason to be up here right now is nothing against the landowner. It's the question of, that was approved by who and where do we see that? Because I did a FOIA request, got all the information sent to me. There's a drainage plan in there. Again, the kind of way it was explained to me is, it doesn't really matter, it doesn't need a drainage plan. Is the residents there, the city adopts the county, the drainage plan for that. So my question is, to everybody here or whatever, is how do I see how that was approved to do what's being done right now, especially with the effects that's being seen on the backside of Berkeley?
Okay.
I second that.
Okay. All right.
Was there before?
So yeah.
Okay.
Just meet Lisa, the landowner, we got some information, got to talk to her. Been a great conversation, a lot of communication. But I think in the end, we're still kind of concerned and question, how did this get approved? For the
Did you say it was at
way-
Buffalo Springs Road?
Say that again?
Berkeley.
Oh, Berkeley.
Yeah,
By the library.
okay.
By the library, okay.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Dave, just to maybe settle some people's minds here, I can't address you all because it's a public forum, but I can address Dave. What is the duty of the P&Z on decision-making outside of new development or within the historical district, which neither one of these are in? We have no jurisdiction.
Your scope is limited to things that seem to be outside an individual, building permit or, two individual properties.
So the only thing we
I
have,
have his questions in writing. He had emailed me earlier, I think yesterday. So I've got his questions to answer. Anybody else, my email is on the website. Please grab it, email me. I'm happy to shoot you guys as much information as you want. I don't try to hide your stuff that is better than a FOIA request. But if you got a simple question, we're your government. It's not them and us and them. Guys, I lived here for 18 years, and I'll talk to any of you as much as you want. So please reach out.
So are you saying those of us in Buffalo Springs and the lights are not within the zone? So we just
Your,
control of that, is what you're saying?
your topic, this board or this commission can't affect kind of your specific situation. But,
City council is a different question.
right, the city council has a much more broad, purview. And the planning and zoning commission, their statements is exactly what they can do.
Dave, would they do any good to go to the zone or the enforcement officers? They're saying violation of zoning.
I think a lot of them have been in communication with the mayor, and it sounds like, the city council is, to me, the best venue, but if, certainly if they, feel like calling the code enforcement officer, step on the tape or emailing her, don't hesitate. I don't want to discourage it, but with Sarah being as plugged into the issue as she is, she can certainly give you guys, more direct guidance than maybe.
And
Okay.
I would like to speak if nobody else
No, go ahead.
is. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just met all these guys, my neighbors, about 10 minutes ago. Obviously, we haven't made much progress yet. We were supposed to start the forms on our slab about 3 months ago, but as y'all know, the rain has, we haven't even gotten that far yet. I was made aware of it by Dave McCorkindale. When he originally got a request or information from one of the other neighbors who's not here tonight. And anyway, he contacted me immediately. We made sure that he said we need, I said, am I in compliance with everything needed by the city? Yes, but let me check with the county. Of course, that takes a few days. He suggested, and we verified, all the documents, required documents, the topo survey, the engineering reports, elevation reports, the site plans, anyway, all that. If you haven't built in Montgomery, I found out it's a very complicated process, but anyway. But we were in compliance with all that. And then Dave told me that one of the compliance, name of that department, code enforcement, I guess, in compliance or whatever. It sounds like most of my other neighbors, and I consider them my neighbors now because we will be for a very long time soon, but had spoken with someone else in this other department, which I wasn't aware of. I was communicating with Dave. This other woman never reached out to me. Eventually, I asked Dave about it. When I found out there were other complaints, he gave me that woman's, that woman's name and number. I contacted her immediately, actually, as soon as I hung up with Mr. McCorkindale, and had a conversation with her. She said she had photos, videos, she would send them. She never contacted me again. I can't tell you why, because I think it would have nipped a lot of this in the bud had I had more information, and it wouldn't have gone this far. But anyway, Dave had also suggested that just as a proactive measure, a good neighborly measure, because we don't know where the water's coming from, that we go ahead and, in addition to our other engineering reports, get a structural drainage.
A drainage plan.
An engineered drainage plan. Anyway, if any of you have ever tried to get engineers out to your house, it takes a long time for them to show up and then produce a report. But that's been in process. We did speak to him yesterday. I have no idea how long it's going to take him to get that engineering plan, survey, whatever it is for drainage out, but it is in process, and I don't even know if you guys knew that. Probably not. So anyway, I think it was good tonight. We actually met. We have faces with names, because I think had I been ordered it sooner and had y'all known who I was to reach out to me, I think we wouldn't be where we are today. Again, why that fell through the cracks, I don't know, but that's it.
All right, thank you.
Did you have anything?
No, I mean, the thing is that our intentions are to be good neighbors, not to do any damage to anyone's property or anything of that nature. So we are, doing the civil engineering study, drainage study. We don't know what the outcome is. We don't know the reasons why, anything has happened, but we'll be happy to let the commission and any neighbors know what the findings are. Our objective is to build a home there. It's not a business. I know that a lot of people have asked me when I've been over there, walked into the property and said, what are you doing? But it's a residential piece of property. It's going to have a big garage on it because we collect cars. But outside of that, that's it.
Okay. All right.
So we will keep you guys updated.
Okay. Yeah, Dave, if you could keep us updated on their drainage survey and study, if you could, let us kind of keep us up to date on how that's all, along with the church issue. Okay.
May I revert back just to one thing on my speaking? Just put it out, it wasn't against the landowner. Again, we just met this first time. It's the issue of itself, right? We've lived there 7, 8 years, right? Never seen this before, so obviously something happened. My question whenever I did come in to see Dave in his office was, I did the FOIA request to do my research and say, hey, what's going on right here? Because again, I didn't. But when I pulled all that together and then came in to try to speak a little bit knowledgeable about it, a lot of the answers I felt like I got was nothing really needs to show what's going on, like when it comes to the drainage pipe. I accepted that because I don't know better. But I think what I heard her say just now was they are looking to get a structural engineering drainage pipe. So I guess that would be, I see you can't address anything right now, but the future question or agenda for me would be, there needs to be no drainage plan when you're building behind like that. I mean, it's a massive piece of property.
Okay.
Bump it up.
Our commission only deals with new development and anything that's in the historical district. Zoning, with the new development, streets, water, sewer, city services, that's the only thing we will look at the drainage at that time. Individual lot builders outside of development, like what's going on there, we are not even approached with. So our commission is not, we're planning and zoning, not new single-family lot commission. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think my question was, so somebody did approve it though, right? I don't know if I ever got that right answer.
Well, yeah, that you'd have
Okay,
to.
so that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that piece of property, that piece of property is not brought up to us.
Okay. So that would be my question. I think the email's a little long, but my question then becomes, there was a drainage plan in there. Don't know what that one meant. It's like penciled in, just kind of written on. But then when you look at the property, how it sets and the way the drainage works, somebody had to approve that, whether or not them, somebody, right? And there's nothing in the FOIA showing that it was approved. That's my question.
Without digging off in the weeds here, I think that the building plan approval was all part of that. It wasn't individually signed off, but that was submitted pursuant to and was part of the building permit application. If that answers your question.
What it does is it's approved. That's what I'm still trying to find out, though, if it was approved. Because nothing that I said, there was a request for a drainage plan, and then the one that was actually put in the FOIA request in there, but it doesn't show signed off or approved. So again, that's my question. It was requested to have one, but it was never signed off. So why wouldn't that have been in there if it's in the file?
That's what I'm not following you right now, but again, I'll dig through that email
Okay.
and I'll circle back with you and ensure that you got an answer to that.
Sure, and there was 35 pages in the FOIA request, like all the documents that she was probably talking about how hard it is to build and
It's a lot of
It's all in there, and I kind of combed through just so I could be honest. But again, there was a request for a drainage plan, there was one submitted, but never signed off and never saying, oh, it's good. So if you could, that would be the answer. I would like,
Yeah.
And I would say mine's very similar to that. And what is considered a development is buying a piece of property, replatting it, starting from scratch, considered development. Especially if you're adding structures or adding surfaces, changing the landscape, is that considered development? Because then that's where, planning and zoning, if you're talking about Montgomery.
Well, we did have a say in the zoning part of that.
Right.
And that's it.
But
And then
Rules have to be made for
the
zoning.
rules and regulations are in the city ordinances, and that is an enforcement issue.
And that would be a building
Okay.
permit process.
Okay,
It'd be
that's a building permit and an.
If the land you're developing is zoned in accordance with what you intended to put in there, then you can go forward with a building permit, which will cover all those things.
Yeah, we deal with the zoning, so we went, from the business to the institutional, but then that's where we stop and enforcement starts. If that,
So city council meetings will be busy next week.
not to push it off on anyone, but we have no decision on anything past that.
Fair enough, thank you.
Anybody else? Even though you're not on the list, if we got something to air out, we might as well get it done. Okay?
We live at 901 College Street.
I'll get podium, yeah. We'll get it.
Okay. I thought she wrote it down.
Still never got your name.
We live at 901 College Street. I just want to wish all y'all good luck. We've dealt with a lot with Dave, trying to get a hold of him, trying to get in contact with him. It's documented that he just chose not to respond to our emails. We ended up doing construction, and he just called the contractor that he allegedly didn't have the number to. So I just would like to put my hearts out to y'all, and good luck, because it's probably going to be hard to get to wherever you're going. Dave, I'm sorry about your pool, but I just would like to wish everybody good luck. I think we just kind of band together and we can just kind of get the weak links and the weeds out of the garden. But that's all I have for today. It's not important.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it?
That's on the agenda.
Okay, all righty. All righty. That will end that. We will move on to item number 1, consideration and possible action on the May 7th, 2024 regular meeting minutes.
I have a question about the commission inquiry where Miriam asked about the dumpsters. Do we have any information back about what we can do with the dumpsters?
Yes. If you're going for commission inquiry, I emailed that to Miriam. I'll be glad to share it with you as well.
Okay.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as published.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All decline, say no. Motion passes. Item number 2, consideration of possible action on the revised location of a proposed 35-foot tall flagpole installation at 504 Caroline Street, located in the Historical Preservation District, previously approved on March 5th, 2024. There's
Commission, I could talk. Or-
Is anybody,
This is my design, the flagpole.
yes,
Do I get to go or? I don't know.
Well, either way, I mean, I asked to speak at every item that I had
Well,
a
can
question
we
on.
let-
So either way, yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Can she-
Do I go over here?
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, let the item person speak first, then we'll go.
It usually means
Okay, so it's a flagpole that's to be installed at 504 Caroline Street. We were putting it in the yard, and because of water, the drainage system, we can't put it there, so we're proposing that we move it to the corner, which would require the removal of a bush right behind the fence of our property to the right of the parking lot.
Is it behind the fence or in front of the
It's
fence?
behind the fence.
You know the drawing has it in front of it.
That was my drawing. That's trying.
Okay, I didn't know.
Mine doesn't.
Okay, good. We don't have that drawing though, and we only have what we can see right here in our packets. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes, ma'am.
They also have the
Yes. Well, and forgive me because it's a little bit raw, but,
Do you have a picture of it?
I mean, I can show you what I drew.
That'd be awesome, if it doesn't match what we have in our packet. Because you are the one going to do the flagpole, right?
Well, yes,
Having it done.
I'm doing the project. I'm not doing the book.
So we drive by, you're gonna be out there with a shovel?
That would be dangerous.
Yes, right?
So it's right here. So this is the telephone pole and
Yes.
our business sign. And then this is the fence to
Yes.
the little white picket fence. So I drew this little bush. It's very crass, I'm sorry. But that would be removed and the flagpole would go in that little green space right there.
So you're not moving it over here, you're gonna leave it where it was on that?
Well, this is where it was.
Okay, you
That's
want
where
it
we
here.
proposed, and we want to move it here because we would have to remove the trees.
Okay.
Yeah, they moved
Do you all need another
bush
copy?
instead of a tree.
Oh, I'm the tree hugger. Thank you.
Yes, well, and that was the short side on
Okay.
our behalf. But do you need a copy of this? I think I...
Probably, for our record.
Give it to Dave, yeah.
Dave, is there a,
I might have added a little...
is there an easement outside of the actual street for the city?
There's not an easement, no. We had a stop work order on a former owner of that property trying to get a plat and get those easements, but we were forced into lifting that stop work order, and so we never went through with the platting of the property. So back
Okay, 'cause the reason why I looked at where she's putting the pole would normally be in an easement.
There's not a water line there. The water line's on the outside of that fence there. You can see
Yes,
where.
Oh, you got it.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, there's not.
Are you the owner or the
No,
developer?
ma'am, no. I'm actually the marketing director for the business, and I got put on this project.
Well, I have a question for you. Back when all this was going on, because
Yes,
I
I did
asked,
attend that meeting as well.
yes, I asked about the tree in the back where you were going to put the garbage dumpster. And you said, oh, we have to remove that one. And y'all were going to do a, something that gave homage to the historical, what they had gathered, historical information. And then he said he was going to put it on that tree or by that tree by the stage. If you could just mention that to
I will
him.
find out, because I believe that tree is dead, and we
Yeah.
lost quite a bit of it in the storm.
But he was going to do something. It's a
Okay.
historical, he said he was going to do something that he found out about the property, and he was going to pay homage to it by putting some type of historical
Okay.
marker or whatever.
May
Not
I-
official, but something he was going to do.
May I reach out to you if I have questions about it after I talk to Tom?
Sure,
Okay. Anything else for me?
thank you.
Okay, sir. Probably should have done this.
Item number 2. I just had some questions. So what section of the code says you cannot have a flagpole displaying a Texas or American flag in the historic district in a landscaping area next to a shrub? I couldn't find anything in our ordinances nor in our historical guidelines, district guidelines. If you're using the provided photo rendering, it shows the flagpole to be on the outside of the fence in the right-of-way. One question is, did staff create the rendering, or was this a rendering from the applicant? I gather, based on the written description on the agenda item provided by staff in your packet, the pole would be on the inside of the fence, and all you would see from the vantage point, historical guidelines state that the view from the public right-of-way is the basis of your approval this evening. So all you will see is the portion of the pole, flag, and fence. The comment of crowding landscaping and the comment of crowding the landscaping and that this move is not consistent with good site design principles. My question is, where are the good site design principles in your packet or in any ordinance, because the supporting paperwork was not provided? It's no secret that there's an aversion to this owner. This is an agenda item that never should have been before you, because no flagpole ordinance is prevalent or anything about a flagpole in the historic district. I've been on council the only 2 times for 8 years now. The only 2 times there's ever been a flagpole is when the 2 80-foot flagpoles in town needed to be approved because they were over the 35 or 36 feet. They're 80 feet high. Outside of that, I searched every agenda on every board and never could find a flagpole. So I don't understand why this is having to come before you. And I walked it off this morning. It's merely 13 feet across the driveway. So I think it's just a little bit of harassment and a waste of time. I just wanted to give my input. Thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me, Sarah, are you saying that it shouldn't have been brought to us in the first place, or the change shouldn't be brought to us?
The item itself, I couldn't find an ordinance that says you are not allowed to have a flagpole,
Okay, I got
and the
you.
historic district does not have any guidelines that state you cannot have a flagpole.
Okay. We up here don't select what's coming to us,
Oh, I'm just saying you shouldn't even have to vote on this or worry about it.
okay?
That being said, we still have to vote on it because it's an item? Yes. Okay, all right.
Well, I make a motion, we approve it as submitted.
I have a motion.
I'll second it.
In a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Passes unanimously. Okay. Item number 3. Sarah, you go first.
So this will be applicable for item number 3 and item number 4 since it's based on signage on 2 different buildings in downtown. So not to have to repeat myself on item 4, please know that this is for both. The sign calculations aren't provided in the packet. How can P&Z members be certain that 60% of the wall signage guidelines are being adhered to? I'm going to assume that all of you did your calculations because I saw the footage, height and width provided, but based on the information provided, however, I would expect it to be provided in the agenda item for transparency and full understanding. The full amount, is it 42% that this is, or is it 86%? That's not provided to you. Also, not provided are the guidelines in the historic district that need to be considered and are a guideline requirement in the historic district. This includes the question of signage not facing residential properties, that's something you have to take into consideration, or proper setbacks, and there's other guidelines. None of those were mentioned, and they should be mentioned, just for transparency, to know that you gave that consideration and you did everything in accordance to what the guidelines ask you to do. Even if the property is in compliance, it's transparency to show the commission and staff noted those items are compliant and approved. One more point, one of the applicants is requesting signage on 2 sides of a 4-sided building. I wasn't able to locate information how to calculate the 60% for the 2 walls. Do you calculate all walls and add them together to see if they're 60, or is it 60% of each individual wall? That wasn't made clear in there, so I was just curious if you could help me understand that. Thank you.
Well, what's stated in the ordinance is the 60%. I did calculations. The total square footage on the big wall is 235 square feet. The signage is 52. So they're well within that.
And then in the front, you have to calculate.
The front's a little different because you can't use it as a square. It has to be a triangle, so you only have that.
If it's 9%, then is that over 60% then? Or is it 60% per wall?
Well, the thing is, I think the picture is a little, what's the word?
Misguided.
Misguiding, because the picture and the sign lettering on there. It's hard to gauge from there. The only thing that we can ask is the owners here, okay? The only thing that we could ask, I think on the side, the 2 on the side are fine. If you could get us a little more exact measurements of the front.
That there is included exact measurements on the image that I presented.
Dave, I can't remember, we spoke about these signs and the location of them, and also how many times that they can advertise the same thing.
Right.
Remember I asked about that one building that's in downtown that has it on the side and it has it in the front?
Yeah, there's no restrictions on,
The amount of times that
you
this
can have a sign on.
name on it, okay.
Right.
I just want to say that out loud in this meeting
I'll address some
again.
of the other ones.
Okay.
While it seemed self-explanatory to me and I didn't put it in there, I do apologize. Yes, it's 60% per facade. Now, if you will recall, every sign that we go through, and I did not put it in the packet this time. So again, my apologies. You do not adhere to the percentages. You don't adhere to any of the sign regulations in town. They're here as a reference for you to have some basis of judgment.
Right.
But you don't have to live by the 60%
Right.
because you're in the historic district. So if you want to, if you say, no, are not going to consider any sign that is more than 60%, that's great. You know, if you want to tell us that, then we can, you know, we'll advise the applicants of that. But it,
I guess the only question I have, you have the 3-foot height, but not the width.
It has the width on there.
You have the width of the soffit of the building, 17. So that square footage on that is actually 42.5 square feet. So your signage would have to be, well, we have got, that's a guideline. It doesn't have to follow that. So I guess whatever fits in there will work.
That's going to be made of wood,
Yes.
treated
Okay.
wood?
Yes.
And you maintain it?
Yes.
Like the color and if it's falling down or swinging in the wind or whatever?
Yes.
And the sign on the side is orange, looks like orange and black?
Orange, black, and white.
Okay. Again, wood.
Yes.
Okay.
Treated.
Confirming for document's sake, no lighting, nothing like that?
No lighting.
No power to it?
No power.
I'll make a motion to approve the sign application for Rocktopus Art and Jewelry located at 305 Caroline Street in the Historic Preservation District as submitted today.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion. And
Oh,
a-
when will you be doing this?
I will start the process of having them made as soon as I have approval. I just wanted to make sure before I start that I'm.
So like within a 30-day window you have it?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a motion and a second for the approval of the Rocktopus Art and Jewelry located at 305 Caroline Street in the Historical Downtown Preservation District. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 4. Sarah?
Oh, no, I
She's
understand.
good.
Thank you.
Oh, you'll,
Same comments.
Hi, I'm Michelle Shores. Karen is also here with me, and we are representing Spin in the Wind and Amazing Grace Quilt Store. When we spoke with Dave, we just found out that we had to present this to you. So it was kind of a rough draft. We're working with the graphics company at this time. Our plan is that the sign is going to go in the exact same place as the former sign. I think it was called One Realty Group. It will be made of metal, just like Monica's was. And we decided over the last week we are going to put it on the right-hand side of the building because there is a tree on the left-hand side of the building that blocks it. And I think I provided Dave with pictures
Yes.
of the building. So our sign will be going exactly as it was for the last tenant.
okay. So you're going to occupy both?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And at first we weren't sure, we weren't sure if we were going to do it horizontal or on top of each other, but at this point we're going to be doing
Up
it
and
on top
down,
of each other
okay.
because of that tree blocks the left-hand side of the building.
Right, okay.
And all the lettering is lasered like, because it's a metal sign?
I just
not
don't
painted.
know the answer. The person, we hired the person that did Monica's
Okay.
sign, so, I mean, we told her, hey, that's what we want.
Okay.
We did this, so please,
But it's not illuminated, it's just a,
no, just a
Okay.
flat metal sign
okay.
with text and graphics.
I move to approve the wall sign application for Amazing Grace Quilt Store, Spin in the Wind Gift Retail Store located at 302 John A. Butler Street in the Historic Preservation District.
I second the motion.
All right, I have a motion and a second for the sign application, Amazing Grace Quilt Store, Spin in the Winds Gift Retail Store at 302 John Butler Street in the Historical Downtown Preservation District. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion is passed.
Do you have a time frame?
Hopefully by July 1st, because
Okay.
that's our planned opening date.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For your approval.
Item number 5. Sir?
Sorry, I wrote item number 7, not number 5. I don't know if I put that. There's a 5 on there, I meant 7 if I did.
Okay, you want 7?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay. Item number 5. Consideration of possible action on the special use permit application for a paramedical and fine line tattooing business located at 14375 Liberty Street, Suite 105 in Montgomery, Texas.
Yes, my name is Shay Sikora Phillips, and I am a permanent makeup artist, and my space is, correction, it's 14375 Liberty Street, Suite 102. I have the front-facing left side of the Westmont building, and I currently am a permanent makeup artist. And I specialize in eyebrows, eyeliner, lips, and I also do areola restorations for women who've lost their breasts due to breast cancer. And I would like to consider the possible special permit use for fine line tattooing, which is not considered an act. It is, yes, considered a tattoo, but it is done differently than your generic tattooing. And I'd like to make a note too that I don't do advertising on the front of the building. I just have my sign that hangs that's just for paramedical. And what I do for tattooing is typically something that I would, which is how I do it in Austin, which is how I'd like to do it here, is where it's usually an add-on service. It's not something that anyone would ever walk in for. It's not something that's advertised on the side of the building. It's not a neon sign that says tattoos. It has nothing to do with that. It's a, typically, in hindsight, these tattoos are done for women who've lost siblings or husbands or have gone through traumatic events in their life, and they have a handwriting that's on a card that was left from their son before they passed, and they would like to have their children's name written on them, or something very simple. And I would like the opportunity to be able to do that for them and it not be, again, illegal. So I just want to be in standing with the city. And I'd also like to note too that my schedule is one that opens up in the beginning of the month and it also closes 24 hours later. It's not something that's advertised. It's you've got to know me, you've got to know about me in order to get in. And then once that schedule is booked, which it usually books up within about 24 hours, it's then closed. And then, you know, they just come in on their appointment time. And I'd like to also note that my door remains locked at all times.
So you're appointment only, basically?
Appointment only. You will never have anyone walk in. And usually, occasionally, I have someone walk in, and that's just, and I put a note on the door now that just says, do not accept walk-ins. Mm-hmm. And then they will take a business card, and they will either call me or text me.
Okay. You've been there how long?
I have been at 308 Caroline Street. I was inside of Lizzie's boutique for approximately 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
And I have been where I am now for a year, and I've only offered the paramedical aspect of it. And just recently, it's become something that's, you know, it's asked about and it's requested, and I just wanted to come in front of the board in order to do it properly to where it's not something that is, you know, found out about or done improper.
Yeah. I remember approving it back in '21, and I forgot even you were there till this came up.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way I like to remain. It's I'm not one to put a sign out. I don't do any advertising. I am strictly word of mouth, and I book out for at least 4 to 6 months in advance. And I'd like to just keep it that way. It's very calm, quiet, and collect.
Okay.
How long is that special use permit good for, Dave?
That can be one of the terms that you said. Staff's recommendation is not to put an expiration on it. I don't find a reason, in my opinion, to have a time constraint on it. If, certainly, you know, something that's new it's a new activity to the city, but someone that's established in the city, you know what kind of the parameters are. I don't find a reason to want to put a, a renewal date on it.
Did the, up here on the right on 105, there's another place that came in and asked for,
I think they're Mirar, is that how you pronounce it?
And we had a meeting, we discussed that, and we did not want the wording and/or the tattoo facade following with it in downtown Montgomery because of the historic district and the character of the downtown. But right after we did that, the hotel, the tattoo parlor opened over there by right outside of our city limits, like 2 buildings over.
Right.
So a lot of good that did.
Right.
But that is my biggest thing. Is I understand. I mean, I could hear in your voice that you were getting emotional about what it is that you do for people, and I understand that. I will speak on the fact that we are quaint, we want to remain quaint, we want to be historical, we want to stay in the character of what Montgomery stands for. And I know that you're not advertising, I know that it's not a big fluorescent light and flashing lights and all such stuff as that. And I'm reading the special use permits and I'm not finding anything in here, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, that says we can't have someone who quote-unquote tattoos in downtown Montgomery. But if we say yes to
that again is
you,
why I'm here today. And if you were to look at my website or go in and read anything about me, my whole identity is quaint and quiet and soft, and this is not something that I do when I don't need a flashing sign, I don't need walk-ins, I don't need anything like that. I get that, I 100% do.
And a special use is case by case.
yes,
So we have,
It's not necessarily precedent setting.
correct.
Right.
Correct.
but when, just remember, I mean, this is just because something is said to us here in this meeting and we give you permission with this special use, and then 3 other people are going to come in behind you and say, well, you did it for her. And I'm the voice of good, bad cop or whatever. I understand what you're offering.
Well, we just have to use
We
this
have to use-
situation
yes,
as
right.
as a baseline.
I just want to bring that out so that it's written in the minutes.
Is there another wording that could be used that would define what you do and what the benefit is to the patient or customer without using tattooing?
Yes, a generic tattoo is just considered a tattoo.
I understand.
And this is more, it's fine line. I don't know how I could word that, but there are other people who probably worded it differently. I don't,
How about cosmetic,
tattooing,
well, not,
cosmetic.
try to get away from using tattooing.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Cosmetic, I don't know, cosmetic embellishments. I don't know. I have to think on that. But like I said, it's not written anywhere. It's not on my website. It's not something that I want to do.
But it's written in our minutes, and it's written in your agenda, and that's what we're saying is, like this gentleman asked earlier, he goes, I looked back in April and y'all said da-da-da-da-da, but nowhere in it did it say da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
That's what we're up against on a month-to-month meeting, is we're brought up 3 or 4 months later, someone comes in and goes, well, you had this meeting and this is what you said. So it's not about you
I understand that.
and what you're doing.
I think like Bill said, it's not, if we approve it, it doesn't mean it's approval for everybody in the future, but we'd like to steer from giving the opportunity of setting a precedent that somebody could come back and say, well, you approved her tattooing shop.
Yeah, I am. It's all paramedical, permanent makeup, and this is truly just an add-on. Like, I don't typically take appointments for someone who's just coming in for like a tiny tattoo or something. That's a waste of time in my opinion because of my schedule. This is something that's strictly added on.
Yeah.
So what does paramedical cover?
Yes, ma'am. Paramedical is, it's a great question. So if you have a burn that you have and it's scarred your face, if you have you've had shingles and it's taken, your face and now that's no longer the same color as your skin, or you were a breast cancer survivor and you now have areolas. Paramedical consists of me going back in for medical purposes and creating that areola so that, that woman feels whole again, and then creating, her face, fixing her face in order for it to be camouflaged with ink, in order for it to not be as noticeable. So that's the paramedical aspect of it that is very, very, very different than just permanent makeup. That's eyebrows, lips, and, eyeliner.
And what about, you said the words, the birth date or a signature, is that fine line, or can that be paramedical, or can that be cosmetic, permanent cosmetic, whatever, without saying the word tattoo? That's what we're getting at. Can you come back with another word?
And that's a great question, and that's something that I can definitely look into. I didn't have to go anything through this for like my Austin location. So but I know a lot of people do this, and it's definitely something that's added on, and you don't even know that they offer it when they offer all these other things. So it's definitely something I can come back and I can figure out.
Okay, we really appreciate you coming forward, because like you said, you could have done it there without even telling us. And
I know, but
nobody
that's
would know
just,
there.
I can't sleep at night knowing that. Every morning I wonder if it's going to have like a, the cease and desist notice on it, you know what I mean? And that's just not okay with me.
So I make a motion, we table this item.
I'll second.
So as of today, on item number 5, the special use permit for the paramedical fine line tattooing business, we're going to table that till we get a more friendly word description. How's that sound?
Can do. And do I just present that today?
Yes, yeah, okay.
Awesome.
But she can still operate, correct?
Right.
With her.
I don't think I make that decision, but I don't
say yes.
Yeah.
Just nod your head.
I just, yeah. No, you're
We're
fine.
not coming
You're fine.
over.
You're fine. You're fine.
I'm not.
You're fine. Okay. Item 6. Sarah?
I'll just do item 6 and 8, because they're both kind of the same thing. I had a conversation with Mr. Fox last night, and it's been noticed that a lot of the new developments that we have coming, as well as that are fresh, the roadways are not wide enough for emergency vehicles. And I want to understand when the emergency services come in. Do they come in the planning period? Do they come in the feasibility study? When do they get their eyes? Because the HEB, even though it's 2854 or 105, the city is the ones that the police services and our fire and our ambulance are the ones that got to be there. And I'd like to have their eyes on it to see where the potential entrance and exit and what their feedback and comments and reviews are. And it's also the neighborhoods. Tom, I mentioned where you are. It's tight quarters.
Yes.
And if there's Mr. Fox and I talked, if there's a house that's on fire, the neighbors are probably going to go down too, because they can't get to it. So I just want to ask since you're over developments, that the commission really keep an eye out and make sure that we have all the approvals, and that this important piece is also in the very beginning of the consideration.
Well, as you well know, that's going to have to be an ordinance issue with street widths.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. I'm just saying, getting feedback.
We've been talking about that for I don't know how long.
Every time it comes before us, if we say the same thing. Has a fire truck been down there? Has the police been down there? Has an engineer been down there?
But we always get from Chris and everything, that the fire chief has looked at it and he's approved it.
Police chiefs looked at it,
Police and the fire,
I'm just saying, let's be mindful of it, because, and maybe it's even getting with council too and saying, hey, let's really take a second look when we're looking at these widths of roads, because the high density is going to be, with people, there's going to be.
In the past, have we not had fire marshal review the plans?
I believe quite a few years ago we did. I remember.
So who's doing that now?
Fire marshal review of plans? The development is following the ordinance of 28B. If there's anything that's not variant, so we get fire marshal involved. When people are requesting extended cul-de-sac lengths for turnaround distances, we'll get fire marshal involved for any reduction on roadway width before it comes to council. That's something they bring. But they're meeting all the rules and regulations. And as far as commercial site goes, they're required to get fire marshal approval separate from. The city does not have their own fire marshal that's done by the county, and they have to get their approval on their fire lanes and sharp points. That's outside the purview.
Now, the current zoning calls for 75 by 120-foot lots.
Correct.
What does the zoning allow for street width?
28 foot.
That's all?
But it's not your, is that in your zoning, or is that?
That's in your subdivision.
Yeah, it's actually, right, it's in the subdivision.
Remember, because we brought that up and we said, how does this fire truck drive?
What is Buffalo Springs, do you know? Because that, you can turn around there, those are wider streets, huh?
Not in his neighborhood.
I'm just, so maybe we should look at an ordinance that changes that, or actually, in the planning stage, ask for emergency services to give their review before council approves this 26-foot road or 25-foot, the variance, right, outside of the 28-foot.
Totally agree.
But I was over in Tom's neighborhood, and I think you were too, Mr. Fox, and it's tight quarters, and I don't want a black eye on the city because we didn't take that into consideration. That's all I'm asking.
It is a technical issue, and whether Chris can get his team to do that or not, my comfort level would be back with the fire marshal making a review. I mean, it's just a fail-safe.
So who contacts the fire marshal? Is that us or is that the developer? Okay, and then they put that into their, so then once they get their comments and reviews, that should be in the packet of final approval, correct?
You know, just as well as, you know, if it passes in front of Energy, whoever the light company is, whoever the gas company is. So they know ahead of time what the issues are. If you get out there and have dark neighborhoods or too much light in the neighborhood, they will make an assumption, evaluation of the street lighting also. So there's just, you know, things that, and I know it takes time, and we hear that often, and we take too long to do all these things. But in the effort to do it correctly, might take an extra day or two.
Dave, as we are reviewing the plats, can we impose a developer requirement that they impose restricted parking on one side of the street as a part of the approval of the plat?
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head.
Could you find out? Because I think that's critical.
I'll be glad to research the issue. It's a new, I've not seen it. I've seen obviously, you know, the no parking signs on one side of it.
Right.
But I'm not sure, I don't see any reason why we couldn't, but just let me double check to find
Because
out.
I think until we can get the 28-foot width reviewed and everything, I can tell you, where, like Sarah said, where I live, if there's cars parked on both sides of the street, I don't think that a full-size fire truck's going to get through. I really don't. So one way to alleviate that is to, as we can in the planning section, and I'll go to the city council next meeting, in fact, and request that they expedite an ordinance that requires those developments within the city that have 28-foot or less street width, that they restrict parking to one side of the street. That is a safety issue.
I think it becomes also an enforcement issue.
Yes.
You can't, you know, we have a limited police department, you're gonna have people out there. I have seen developments where they require the driveway to be long enough, there's absolutely no street parking. So that's pretty straightforward. If you want to make a rule, that'd be a better rule than this side or the other side.
Just keep it top of mind, just because of all the new development. Thank you.
Okay.
You already announced the agenda item? Good, okay. So I'm Jonathan White with Elsport Engineering here to present this new development. And just to touch on Mayor's point, I have already coordinated a fire marshal. So what you will notice about this, there's one point of access on this property for 59 lots. Typically anything over 30 requires 2 points of ingress and egress. Coordinated with fire marshal on this, we're giving them a divided entry with two 20-foot lanes. 20-foot width is the minimum fire lane width for any commercial type developments. They accepted this as long as we had 28-foot road widths throughout the subdivision as well. So Montgomery County is moving forward with a new design manual that will require their standard. Montgomery County only requires 18-foot roads for their asphalt, 20 foot for their crushed concrete, 22 for a full shoulder. So shoulder is 22, but actually paved asphalt is typically 18 to 20. They're moving towards only now requiring 28-foot widths for either concrete or asphalt, whether it's open ditch or curb and gutter, and that is a directive from the fire marshal, just to let you know. So this is currently not inside the city limits or the ETJ of Montgomery. It is inside the ETJ of City of Conroe. We're here to seek the city's interest to see if you would be interested in annexation. If you were not aware, some legislation came out last September that does allow voluntary decertification of ETJs from a property owner. So if the city did seek any kind of interest, we would engage the city to conduct a feasibility study, go through the proper processes, and if they move forward with that, they would actually voluntarily decertify from Conroe, which would allow the annexation into the city of Montgomery to receive city services. These lots are 132 by 247, so they exceed your minimums. These are 3/4 acre lots, which only require public water. There may be an option, likely would be an option to receive public sewer. We just have to seek benefits of and costs associated with receiving city sewer. But for the time being, we'd only be seeking city water this time. So this would meet your minimums on road widths. We've received fire marshal approval, so it actually meet and exceed your minimum city lot standards as well. The price points on the homes would be around $650,000 plus for this section. And for frame of reference, this is behind Mialago, but we'll access off of Lone Star Bend. We cannot have the connection from Mialago since that is a private subdivision. We do have to access off of Lone Star Bend. So happy to answer any questions.
Now with this 3/4 acre lots, I guess you're anticipating no parking on the street?
It would be open ditch, so typically you'd have a long driveway. The building lines here would be 25 feet, but a lot of times with these estate lots, they'll be set back 50 or 75 feet. So they give them a lot more space. Yeah. It's also selective clearing for the lots, so they're not going to go clear cut the lots. They like to just clear what they would need to make the improvements. And if we don't get public sewer, each lot would have sanitary sewer systems.
And all the drainage studies are in the works.
So this, there's a canal on the south side of this development that connects the Mialago Canal into this canal that connects to Lake Conroe. Communicated with Lake Conroe SJRA. They have stated that this is a part of Lake Conroe and that they would we just review our drainage to make sure that there's no kind of like silt or sediment issues. And then I've coordinated with the Montgomery County Engineering Office, which we do go to City of Montgomery, that would defer to Chris, but Montgomery County Engineering said if we get it to the lake, which SGRA stated this canal is, there is no detention required since Lake Conroe is natural detention. But we just have to prove that silt, sedimentation, all that stuff.
Right, okay.
Does the property go all the way to Lone Star Bend, or would there be an easement required for that?
So part of the purchase contract, there is a gap between this property and the Lone Star Bend property. It was part of that contract that they would deed that over that allow us to bridge that gap and connect to the Lone Star Bend.
We're on Lone Star Bend with the 2 entry. Did you say it was 2 entry? Two
Yes,
20-foot?
I've got a bigger copy if you're to have it.
No, I just, when you turn down Lone Star?
Yeah, so it's
yeah,
got Lone Star Bend, and then we'd have a median access across, I don't know what the small subdivision is across. Yeah, Villas of Mialago, right across.
It's right before you get to the Villas of Mialago after the retirement center.
Yes.
And that's Greg Cott. He's with DH Homes. He represents a home builder and developer.
I'm seeing trees. What are you doing with those trees?
I'm only going to clear what I have to for my infrastructure. He'll do what he needs to for his homes, but typically they're estate lots, and so the idea is to keep the.
If we don't have to take down a tree, we don't take it down. We require the pad of the house plus 10 feet on each side and usually 15 in front and back. So as long as they're outside that gap, then the trees, we leave the trees.
Do you supply the homes with trees, and if so, how many?
We have some subdivisions we do, some we don't. It depends. I mean, in this case, it depends.
Who's the developer?
I'm a home builder and developer.
Oh.
DH Homes.
Are you gonna add trees?
It's pretty wooded now, so the idea is that, so, typically on the infrastructure side, you'll clear, you know, the 60-foot right of way, 25 feet on each side, so about.
Because you know Montgomery's old, and the trees are old.
Yeah, we have to meet the tree ordinance.
Yes.
So,
Okay,
Yeah,
tree ordinance.
whatever tree ordinance is there, we will.
All right, tree ordinance.
I'm sure that they would exceed, given how much, you know.
I have to ask the question,
Yes, ma'am.
I understand.
because nobody else is. I will.
At this point, we're not coming forward with any variances at this time.
Great,
Maybe a radius on the road.
no variances.
There may be a road radius variance, but that's about all I can see. On the drainage, I will say that we are going to, so the flood, there's been a lot of improvements in this area. That canal has been dug. So the floodplain has already changed drastically. One thing we're doing on the engineering side is to restudy this area so we can truly delineate the true floodplain, so we can just make sure those lots are high and dry as well.
Right now, it's just a discussion, but if this were to come back down the road, I'd be more concerned about the floodplains. There's a lot of lots inside the 100-year and 500-year floodplains.
Yeah, we don't think that that's the true delineation, because a lot of that floodplain is, so floodplain's based on FEMA. FEMA does their studies. The last time they did anything in 2008, which is prior to the excavation. So there's been a lot of improvements and a lot of added area to the floodplain, which creates storage, which should reduce the BFE of the floodplain. So I already engaged an H&H consultant. They agreed with me that this is probably going to skinny it up. If we're going to propose septics, we have to have 3/4 acre clear, so we can't have floodplain in the lots anyways.
Thank you.
So how did that area fare with these recent couple of storms that caused all the flooding?
I have not been out there. I'm not sure.
I drove out there once, I didn't see any issues. I mean, the canal that's there is dug, and it's about 8 foot deep, and then there's still another probably 20 feet coming in that's very low level before it goes up to the elevation of about 220 feet, I think, so it's well above the floodplain level.
Those two storms did more damage than I expected. I don't know if you've been down Lone Star Parkway where it crosses Town Creek, but they put all that rock in there over the past year. It's all washed out. The walls behind the rock are gone. So, you know, this whole idea of drainage and floodplain, don't take it lightly.
No, I understand.
Not at all.
That was a lot of money spent to try and keep that creek in its bed, and it made itself a lot wider.
And again, to your point, this is just a discussion item. I think they would just be wanting to see some direction. If the city did seek interest, they'd like to have that feedback so they can engage the city engineer in the city, conduct their feasibility study as per agreement, issue our deposit, so we can start that process with the studies to see what it would take for the city to serve.
This tract is well above the flood of record, correct?
Yes, sir. I mean, all of these lots are going to be well above the Lake Conroe easement, which essentially, since this is Lake Conroe, I would argue that the BFE is really the Lake Conroe easement, not necessarily the FEMA delineated floodplain, but they would be.
You know what the flood of record is, elevation-wise?
Here, this
In
particular
that location, yeah.
it likely isn't going to be above 207. At least since that canal's been dug.
These houses are gonna be like right across the street from, when you drive, let's see, that's on Lone Star. They're gonna be on the back side of those other homes that are,
On Bodart.
yeah, Bodart.
Yes.
And
That's not all those 3 acre lots that are all over.
which we receive flow from all those lots, and so we'd have to ditch to capture that and pay through. That'd all be a part of our ultimate subdivision plan.
And just so you know, we're not building small houses, we're building 3,000 to 3,300, 3,300 nice houses. And we're gonna be in 600 to 800,000 dollars price point.
Okay.
I have no other comments at this point.
Sounds
Does
good.
anybody else?
We're all done? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your
Okay, let's move on to item number 7, consideration and possible action on the calling a public hearing to be held on July 2nd, 2024 regarding proposed amendment to Chapter 98 of the City Code of Ordinances. And that is on special use permits. Okay, sir?
So I saw in a meeting earlier this year where a gentleman from Grace Point misspoke and stated the event venue when presenting to y'all. What prevents a location, which means venue, location by definition is venue, or venue is by definition is location, from having a birthday party? Prevents an insurance company from holding a class or having a picnic after the class? Why can't any location host a wine and cheese party? I personally have attended several parties, such as wine and cheese, brunches, in several locations in the city, and none of the locations have needed a permit like this. Why is this any different? Key to this tonight is don't use the 504 Caroline location as the reason for a change in the definition in this ordinance. We represent the citywide, not just a location. If you want to modify the ordinance, use the activity, not the name or word venue. Venue is the same as rental, and we don't have a definition for rental. The word venue by definition is location, not activity. Rental isn't in our ordinances, venue isn't in our ordinances, short-term rental is not in our ordinances. All of my research only has stated that a special event permit is only applicable for city-owned properties, everywhere I lived in the state of Texas. So when you have an event, a parade, or a wine event, or a festival, that's what I found, that's when you needed this kind of permit. My question is, what in the current ordinance that's written today allows the city to hold events in the city community building as a venue? What is the definition of the community center, and what activity is proposed amended ordinance are we trying to define? Suggestion for consideration to the commission this evening. Let's let KKG write the ordinance, since that's what they are hired to do. They are the experts, not anyone in this room. They are evaluating all of our ordinances. Let's allow all of the locations to allow all the events and all the parties, and let's let them help with that definition, since we're paying them a nice price to do so. And I've had parties at places in venues or businesses downtown, and we didn't have to get a permit for that. There was just a veterans event downtown at Slice of Amish, and there was not a permit for that. 504 Caroline is wanting to host a wine happy hour, or if somebody wants to have a birthday party on their grounds, or just letting somebody be on their grounds, which is what all of these other businesses do when they have different vendors come in and sell their wares. Or I've had an election party there. I didn't have to put a permit. I just feel like this is more toward one location versus a citywide issue. Thank you.
Who submitted this to us?
When they presented the event, it was an outside vendor that was using the property and not the building. There was no restroom facilities being offered, no sanitation, no parking, anything of that nature. It was an outside vendor using his piece of property.
My understanding is, somebody wanted to host a realtor happy hour. They would allow because this is a builder and an insurance company in the building. So if they wanted realtors to come look at their product, they could host a happy hour there and let them see their product. The house is beautiful on the inside. Why would they need a permit for that? Now, if Sarah...
That's what we're talking about.
But if Sarah wanted to host a birthday party there, I'm okay with getting bathrooms if I have to, or can I use the bathrooms inside the house? I guess that's part of my agreement with the owner of the property, right?
Well, he sat there and said no one was allowed to be in. It was just, they were just renting the ground.
Okay.
No one was to go inside. You take, Hodgepodge, or not Hodgepodge Lodge, and Carlos Place, they are event centers. They host events. They have facilities, they have toilets, they have everything there on property. What we were concerned about was just no supervision. We're just going to rent this piece of ground out and have at it. That's what we're trying to get at, is if it's, Chandler's and all that, those are event centers. When they
Chandler's
hold
has got-
an event, if you have a party there, they have someone there.
But Chandler's is a restaurant by zoning. It's not an event center.
Well,
And Hodgepodge Lodge, my understanding too is when the owners sell the property, that's when the special use permit dies. Well, Hodgepodge changed owners, but yet that permit is still alive.
Okay.
And he's now 100% event center, but he was a restaurant originally, right? We have Texas and Beyond. They host parties on that patio, which by the way, I can't find a permit for that patio that was built, but they're hosting parties.
who's that?
The Purple Building.
Yeah.
They don't have to have a permit.
Used to be the first on.
Oh, yeah, but those are events inside their particular building. They're not, she's putting those events on as tenants of her building, okay? They have restroom facilities to go. If 504 holds an event, where are they going to go to the restroom?
I didn't think that they would, well, they could either get, I guess they could get the porta potties, or if they could
Well,
use
where are they
inside the
going to put
house.
porta potties at?
They've had them there before. I've seen them when they had their grand opening. I went into the porta potty. It was the silver porta
Well, I
potty.
mean, it's a fine line of what,
Yeah.
what we're looking at. One thing we're trying to do is get a definition
Sure.
of,
And that's what I'm saying, just let's let KKG do that since this isn't their first rodeo. And
the one thing I'm concerned about, why can't I go buy Larry Jacobs' piece of property and make that an event center, just the ground, and just rent it to anybody?
So Larry owns it, so you have to get his permission.
What's that?
Larry owns that property. You have to get his permission.
Well, what I'm saying is, if Larry, if he wanted to turn it into an event center and just rent it out to anybody, where does the liability fall?
Where's the zoning? What is he zoned?
He's zoned,
Is that parking lot zoned anything different?
not
than-
parking lot, I'm talking about a piece of property by Jim's.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I
it is
mean,
commercial. It's got he got a special use.
yeah, so I mean,
How do we handle the music festival that goes on every year over by Buffalo Springs Road?
Well, that's not on city property. It is on Ransom's property, and he does get an event. He does get with police, and he does get a permit.
Okay.
Correct, Dave? Is that right? I think so. I've not been part of that process. I was.
Well, that's what I think we're looking at.
the one thing I was concerned about,
My understanding is that this guy just wants to allow people to have rent out his yard. And I was like, why do we have to have an event, like a permit for your yard? When all these other businesses are having events in their yard, on their front patio, in their parking lot, and not getting permits.
but
And
that's
an
a,
event is, like I said, a venue is a location, not an activity. I think we're talking about the activity that's going on, not the building that's going on. That makes sense?
okay, well, how are we going to handle the parking at that?
So, I mean, how do we handle it today? When there's bingo down there, do we make sure that they only have so many people that they're parking all over downtown? The public
I understand that,
parking.
Sarah, but there's parking wars going on now, and if this event center has 100 people coming in, just like I explained to the gentleman standing up there, let's say he calls an event, the gentleman that's
Sure.
supposed to be doing it, it's not the building owner, okay?
No, yeah.
There's, on a Saturday afternoon, there's 5 things going on downtown, okay? He has an event. People are coming in for this event. There's no place to park. Guess what? They're going to turn around and not come back. The people are trying to get to the Crawfish or Tom's or whatever are coming in. There's no place to park. They're going to turn around and go home, never
Well, the
come back.
crawfish place is packed all the time, and they
Yeah,
don't have
but
one parking
what I'm
spot.
saying, but what I'm
But yet
saying,
that city
yeah,
can't stop them.
but Tom's overflow is taking up somebody else's spot.
I mean, at the end of the day, parking is, if Tom was kind, if the Cozy Caper's kind about people parking that doesn't go into his restaurant, it might be successful for him, right? I mean, parking is a challenge, but at the same time, we have businesses that don't have one parking spot that's against our ordinance that didn't get a variance. I mean, there's issues here. And again, when somebody wants to rent out their property, and maybe that we say, okay, you have to have a bathroom. I don't know what the answer is. That's why I wanted to leave it up to the KKG, who are the experts, who probably have seen this before, to say, okay, we're paying y'all a whole bunch of money to look at our ordinances and help us with our future planning of the city. What would you suggest? Because I I'm assuming they probably have done this before, and I just don't think the wording is exactly what we're looking for. I feel like it's more toward one property versus something that can be universal from city limit to city limit boundaries.
I think the general issue is, well, it always winds up as parking, and also it's a matter of, I mentioned to you earlier, is if there is a large group of people going to be getting together someplace within the city, I don't care, you don't want to call it a venue, you can call it a location. The host should be required to notify the chief of police or the fire chief in advance so that they know that that area is going to be congested.
What are the, and I don't disagree with that, that's a great idea, but what are the terms in which, is it 10 people? Is it 75 people that say, okay, I'm gonna have 75 people, I need you to know that this is where they're gonna be? Or is it 5 people? Like, that's, I think that there needs to maybe be a delineation, but.
I think that in the wording that's been submitted is just there to think about, but I think that it should be, you know, say in excess of 100 people. And it maybe even define number of cars. So that,
And who's going to police that though? Because I'm not going to go look at and count heads and count cars and ask people. You know, we have a business owner already that goes and asks his table what their license plate numbers are, and then he goes out to their parking lot to check and see if they're there.
I don't think the policing is a problem as long as the police and the fire chief know in advance that that area is going to be congested.
Yeah, and I don't.
And I think that's the goal that we should be looking at.
I agree.
Is because we know. I hope while your term in office, we find some solution to parking in the historic district. I think the building that we're trying to sell should be a parking lot.
Amen, because it's not good for anything else.
I'm serious. We should have an improvement district where we can collect some taxes to help pay for that parking lot. And we own it already, so I don't know that we have to sell it. Clear the building out of there and make it a parking lot.
Heck, Jacobs wanted to put a parking lot. He was going to allow the city to use his the property behind Jim's. And that all got dropped, but he had said, yeah, we had the parking spaces. Chris, you worked on that with us. And he was fine with it, but.
Well, what we need to do,
Anyway, back to this.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, like, let's let KKG, because I think that they probably have a better idea that would be better for us than just trying to fit something into one spot.
Okay.
One place in our city.
Okay. What we're here for is to call a public hearing. So what we need is input on how this amendment to this ordinance needs to be worded.
My opinion is, let's don't have a public hearing, let's let KKG handle it. That would be my recommendation.
Who?
So the people that we have hired for planning.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when is?
They're supposed to have all ordinances redone in 8 months.
This, I don't know how many of these people we've had in the last, how many years? I mean, how long is this?
We had nobody to help us with our ordinances, and we
Right.
don't have staff doing ordinances, so this is a great idea to have the third party that's done it and has wording.
Dave,
can help us get modernized.
When are they proposed to come back with some type of?
This week.
So that is not the ordinance thing, that's the master plan design.
But we can get with them and ask them like when that process is, like a little.
Gary and I were asked to set up a time with the consultants via email either yesterday or today to talk about the interim ordinance. So that would be, the full ordinance, the Unified Development Code, the kind of recodification of all of our development ordinances and regulations is probably about somewhere between 12 and 16 months out. The interim ordinance, which would be kind of a collection of things that the city feels like it needs to move on sooner than that to get ahead of some things.
Mm-hmm.
So Gary is supposed to be narrowing down the scope of that with the consultant, again, whenever we set up this meeting. Whether this would be on there.
Would this qualify for a special, just look at it quicker?
I would be more than happy not to pick this up as I put
And just
in my email.
table it till we get something from you and Gary?
I wouldn't table it, I'd just let the item die.
Okay, all right.
Well, yeah, you table it and that dies it.
Right, what this means, practically is, if someone, has property that they want to, rent out as an event venue, they would be in violation of the zoning.
Well, all thing we can do is let it see what happens. right?
Right.
Hopefully it's not too long, then we can get these done, that interim piece done in like 4 or 5 months, or maybe sooner, I don't know. I've not done this process before, but I think if we let them know it's a hot topic, and maybe we can give them 3 or 4 ordinances to work on in immediate, short term. I think it's worth a shot. And if not, then maybe we pick it back up.
We'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
If something,
Sure.
you know,
We'll meet with them, I meet with them on Thursday, I can certainly ask them.
what's
Or
that?
tomorrow, is it tomorrow or Thursday? It's one day this week, but, no, it is Thursday. No, yes, anyway, it's one day this week. I will ask them myself.
Okay,
I make a motion, we table item number 7.
okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to table and a second for the special use permit. And we're just going to table this right now indefinitely till we hear information back from Dave and Gary.
Because they gave us a window, they gave us a schedule,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, we're not gonna move forward with that.
Right.
so we're not going to worry about 6 days from now when the staff window for publishing legal, okay.
Okay.
So that all is squashed, okay. Who's taking that up? And so Sarah said she was going to talk to KKG. KC. Oh, I was looking at another word, sorry. Colin? So is that, if Sarah's going to do it, are you doing anything and letting us know as the planning and zoning?
It's an advisory committee.
All right. So it'll be covered and we'll be emailed and let know, okay.
Okay. So did we, I'm lost, did we?
We tabled it.
We tabled it?
We tabled it.
Okay.
We have to make.
We have to make a motion. Did anybody
I made a
motion?
motion to
Okay.
table item number 7.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion and a second to table the public hearing for June or July 2nd, 2024 for the amendment to Chapter 98 of the city ordinances. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, ayes have it. Number 8, review and discussion of a feasibility study for a proposed 16.75 acre commercial development at the southeast corner of the intersection of Eva Street and 105 or FM 2854 by HEB Grocery Company LP.
Right. Good evening, everyone. You go, in your packet, you'll see a copy of the feasibility study that we presented to council at the last meeting. In that study, I'm going to hit the highlights. So if you go in your packets to page 48 to 49, you'll see 2 exhibits. I'll just talk from there. It's relatively straightforward. So, as stated, this is for HEB at the corner, the southeast corner of 105 and 2054. It's a 30-acre parcel in total, as you'll see on that exhibit. The HB would be on about half of that, about 16 acres. The remainder would be mixed-use commercial. This feasibility study is only for the 16-acre HB parcel. So they do have an agreement with the seller who owns the rest of the property to provide grading and detention. So all that will be done is one phase across the entire site. The actual utilities and this feasibility study is only based on the HB portion. So whenever that next, those commercial paths want to develop, they'll start the process separate to do their own analysis. So just keep that in mind. So it kind of goes back and forth the entire 30 acres, but all the numbers, the costs, the values are all based on the 16 acres, just HEB. So if you look on page 49, they have a rough site plan in there. There's no building, just more kind of the general layout. They are proposing a fuel center, car wash, and the store itself on that property. If you look at the executive summary of our report, a couple of highlights today. So from a water capacity standpoint, there is additional water plant improvements that are required, chiefly being a booster pump at the water plant is actually limited capacity at the moment. As this development and all the other developments that are in feasibility, because as you all seen, because it's been on the agenda for a while, there's a lot of potential developments in the city. Continue to push and the new water plant and new sewer plant, all those projects continue to move forward, especially as they actually commit timelines on all of those. As far as getting water to the site, so they would be required to extend it. If you look on page 48 of your packets, you'll see that proposed extension to their eastern boundary. And then when the next development comes in, the commercial, they would extend it the rest of the way. And we would propose to have them cross 105 at that time to close a loop in the system so we don't have two dead-end lines going out to the east side of town. Regarding sewer capacity, it's pretty much the same thing as y'all are aware. As we discussed last time, the city has awarded a project to start the design of the sewer plant expansion project. So that is underway. As far as getting actual utilities to the site, we get a short sewer extension that will be continued on by the next development, as you'll see in page 48 of your packet. Going through the development cost, you'll see on the executive summary on page 41 of your packets, the estimated public infrastructure costs be around $140,000, and then impact fees. These are based on the new proposed rates that will be on council's agenda next week to approve. Approximately $70,000 for water impact fees and $60,000 for sewer impact fees, just for that 16 acres. So, say that again. When you look at the valuation of the project, so this does not include sales tax, which will be a future generator of sales tax for the city. This is only based on the ad valorem tax. So they're looking at about a $12 million development, which will generate about $45 million in additional tax revenue per year. A couple other things to note on the development. So one thing that
Hold on a second. What'd you say? 45 million?
45,000.
45,000. Okay, that's what I was like. Anyway, there's not enough zeros. I don't know a lot. Okay.
45,000, I think. One thing that was brought up, I believe it was by P&Z previously, if not, it was another group, was to make sure that the Charles B. Stewart home site and historical marker on that site is paid homage to, to take into consideration. We have discussed that with HB. We do plan, we don't have any details of it now, but we plan to do some kind of monumentation on the site, which we would recommend just be part of the development agreement that's recorded in there. They do it very similar to how we got the entrance monument from the now Simmons Bank. That was part of the development agreement with Kroger, so something on this side of the street. Probably not quite the same size as it is. The rest of the report goes into water and sewer. Drainage I've talked about and kind of has been talked about a lot tonight. So again, the city follows Montgomery County Drainage Material Manual. Also, this site outfalls to TxDOT, so TxDOT will be involved in reviewing and approving their drainage, as they will be accepting it as well. And as I mentioned, they would be putting in the detention and grading for the entire site, not just their 16 acres.
TxDOT or HEB?
HEB.
Okay.
Traffic and transportation, again, these are both tied into TxDOT roads on their two corners. So they would be going with them to get their approval for the driveways connections to TxDOT. And as far as
Okay.
and as far as fire code goes, again, as a private site, they would have to submit to Montgomery County Fire Marshals or separate approval outside the city. That's not a city service.
So HEB is going to have a gas station, car wash, and grocery store like they...
So if you look on page 48, there's a pad site carved out on the hard corner. So immediately to the east of that is where the fuel station and car wash is proposed. And then the HEB itself will be set back kind of at the top of the building.
We need another car wash right there.
Other than that, kind of the high level item, so, it's already in the city, so there's no annexation required. It's already zoned commercial, so there's no zoning or rezoning required. Based on the information provided thus far, there is no proposed variances that we're going to be looking for. And as far as the timeline, HEB as a company policy does not commit to timelines when they will build. However, they are actively looking to move forward with the site, but they will have not committed to their timeline for actually opening the store.
Okay.
So this is just a report item for information, but if you have questions, I'd like to answer.
The only thing, I know this is just kind of review. Ideally, was it Walgreens or CVS, wherever that lets out, ideally that street that's, I guess that'd be the most northernmost crossing street on their plat would line up with that? Because I can definitely see traffic kind of trying to jump from CVS to HEB, and for safety
something on
purposes,
there
that'd be
that says that.
pretty difficult.
Yeah, but when you look at their site plan on 49, they're slightly offset, I think is to Daniel's point. So having those line up so you don't have an offset between the driveways.
I know we're not looking at plat or anything today, but that's just something that caught my eye.
Okay.
So they would do all the land work, but would they do the infrastructure like the streets, et cetera, or are they just doing just the site?
So if you look on page 49, they would do the streets
Up to the wide
western half of the property. And then they would.
Just their 16 acres?
Just their 16 acres. They would stub it out to continue, but the streets on the eastern side would get constructed by separate developers.
Just like utilities?
Correct. But the ponds that are shown on both the east and west side and the overall grading of the site would be done as one phase at the beginning of the project.
Okay.
Do you know if they're gonna keep it a hill?
We don't have that level of detail. I would assume I don't think that they're gonna be able to cut it flat, but they're definitely gonna have to try to stairs.
Terrace it.
Terrace it, yeah.
Terrace it,
To make it great.
Guess I can't ask about the trees, because there's 30 acres.
And this is a reminder of kind of the next steps on feasibility studies and development. So this is on council, it's not y'all. The next step is the developer will request a development agreement with the city, since there's public utilities to be installed to paper up who, how, what, when, et cetera. And then it will go through the normal process of plan reviews. And again, this group wouldn't see it unless there's a variance that would require not zoning board of adjustments, but council.
This is just review and study, so we don't have to make an approval, right?
Correct, correct.
All right.
Does city council, this is more just, does city council take an action on it? Approve?
They just accept the study. So, accepting a study does not commit the city to providing service. It does not commit the city to putting us in there. That's all really kind of gets wrapped up in the development agreement. So it's just high level accepting the study, understanding the results, and actually not committing to
Okay, thank you.
Sarah, did you want to speak on 8?
I already said,
Okay.
just the emergency lanes, just making sure that
Okay.
the roads are wide.
Okay, all right.
Or that this, and like I said, there's state highways, but make sure that the emergency vehicles and
Okay.
fire marshal, police, and ambulance.
Right.
Is there a traffic study attached to this?
Not at this time. So they would be required to submit impact analysis to TxDOT, and TxDOT would require likely turn lanes or some deceleration lanes into their site, but that would only 100% go by TxDOT. So similar to Montgomery Bend, so they had to submit their traffic study, which is the Pulte development on 1097. They submitted the traffic study to TxDOT. City wasn't involved in that process, but the study said, okay, before phase 1, you have to install the right turn lane, phase 2, the left turn lane, and then you build homes with phase 4, you have to install a signal. So that's what.
So there'll be, when the whole thing is done, there'll be 2 entrances off of 105.
Here, right now, I think there's 2 entries off of 105 and 2 entries off of 2854.
Oh, there's 2 off 2854?
Correct.
Say 3.
3 on 54, sorry.
At least per the 49.
1, 2, 3. Not counting the one on 105, yeah.
There's one, well, there'll be 2 there, eventually.
Yeah, and it says behind.
Aperture?
Correct.
So they'll be winding up extending that turning lane there?
Potentially, I can't speak for that.
And whenever you compile your recommendation, all that TxDOT information is included in, per usual, correct? Okay. Just for documentation.
Yeah, you're right, 3 off of 2854.
And that's just proposed at this time.
Correct.
That's all I've got.
Okay, that it? Before everybody leaves, I know a lot of them have left, but I want to thank y'all for coming in. It makes our job easier. Just like we were talking earlier, ordinance or guidelines. It's not black and white. And we have no idea what citizens are thinking unless you all come in and give us your opinion. Like Sarah and I going back and forth, you know, I've changed a little bit of my mind on the special use thing now. So it helps us. And, you know, come back anytime if you have any, you know, anything concerns, get up and talk, and, you know, that's the only way to air things out. But I appreciate y'all being here.
Because without y'all, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we found out a lot the last meeting.
I mean, we can, you know, sit up here and we've made decisions, and all once we're getting feedback, you know, why in the world did you do that? Well, you know, we're up here as individuals too, and the ordinances aren't black and white. You have to, this has to be, this has to be, this has to be. So.
And we're going off base, sometimes we go off of just one person telling us something.
Right.
One person, and they promise us the moon, but we don't know anything about the neighbors or the people that it, you know, comes into play with a lot of times, so.
And there's things that we have, you know, decision-making powers over, and there's some that we don't. So that being said, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, wait,
Well,
can we have the dumpsters on the agenda next time? What we can do about them? Or are you gonna just send us the email?
I'll certainly put it on the agenda. I'm not.
Maybe that's something we
Show
can
the
bring to
P&A.
take
to those people.
to those people.
Yeah,
Maybe
I think,
we could do an ordinance on the
In light of
dumpsters.
Sarah's comments, I don't really think she wants any ordinances brought that are any type of planning related until the consultant works on it, which isn't a bad recommendation.
We gotta bring them to their attention.
Yeah, I want the
We gotta bring
dumpsters.
these specific things like events and dumpsters, because they're probably not in their vision.
Well, we're paying them, we get to tell them.
I understand.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
All I'm saying is we gotta get it on there.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
they don't
List of
know.
things to do.
Yeah, they don't know what.
Right, everyone.
All righty.
Okay. I still.
I'll second his motion.
Okay, motion is second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
I know you're busy schedule. No, I sound like
They always like running.
Yeah.